Okay, Coach, you want to give us an opening statement, and then we'll take questions from there.
I think all year long, this is something that you kind of shoot for, is trying to make it to a Final Four, and to be able to do that with this group, the players that we've had here is, it's special, it's fun, we're excited to be a part of this. We're excited to be in Columbus. People that we've come in contact with so far have just been amazing. And I think we're in for a treat here for this, for these 3 matches. I think these are 4 teams that have very distinct styles of play. All 4 teams have had great years. All 4 teams are peaking at the right time, and we're excited to get started tomorrow.
Okay, questions? Front left.
Excuse me. Lee Feinswalk from volleyballmag.com. Ooh, that was best swallowed wrong. Sydney, can you talk about Grace's development as a player and her as a person? Not her development as a person, but
just as a player. Okay. Yeah, I mean, we've been teammates now for 5 years, and every single year she's just gotten so much better and more confident, and just someone that I can turn to in high pressure situations. And this year especially, I think there's just a look in her eye that she's like, all right, let's go, like, we got this, give me the ball. And I feed her, and she's playing super well, and it's super fun.
Kelly, can you answer the same question?
Yeah, I mean, Grace is a player that she gives us a lot of experience. She's played in a lot of matches. She came, what was that? Was that your freshman year that came off the bench and just had a huge NCAA tournament for us her freshman year? Didn't play most of the season at all. And we go into Iowa State, and she came off the bench and just was absolutely huge in that match. I don't think we get on into the second weekend without her, and then she goes up against Stanford. I think it was #1 team in the country at that point, and was huge there, and just didn't flinch at all. But then she's, as people get film on you and they kind of see what you're about, you've got to evolve your game. And she's been a player that has been able to, continue to evolve, continue to add tools to the tool belt, if you will. And the idea here is that by the end of your career to be playing your best volleyball, and Grace is. And you can just tell, I was so excited that she decided to come back, because I think that was probably at a time, that was probably a coin flip. But she brings so much joy to the gym and so much freshness into the gym. That she helps us in our training environment, and she's certainly become a big time player for us out in the court, especially the second half of the season. She'd been the second half of the season, once she kind of got into the rotation all the time and been able to get a rhythm, she's just taken her game to another level.
All right.
Tim Sullivan, Louisville Courier-Journal. For Kelly, because of your size, that's a big consideration for Louisville. They don't match up that well in terms of at least height. Is there a standard approach teams take with you that are undersized or lesser sized than you?
Are you trying to give us the keys to beating us? Want me to say this is how you beat us? Is that the question?
They're gonna do to us.
Okay. I think when you get to this point in the season, and certainly before this, I think a big thing for everybody, I'll answer your question kind of indirectly, but I think a big key is you got to stay true to yourself, right? If you got to, there are some things that we do that are really, really special. Our size can play a part of that, no doubt about it. There are some things that Louisville does that makes them incredibly special, and if either of us try to be somebody that we're not, we're going to have some problems. Both teams are going to have some issues. They get on a ball really quick. I mean, their attackers get on the ball fast. They work really, really hard in transition. The team doesn't have Louisville. They don't have weaknesses to exploit. It's probably as solid and balanced of a team as that there is in the country, not just here in the Final Four, but anywhere. They're incredibly impressive. I mean, I was looking the other day. The fact that 40% of their sets they've won by 9 or more points. I mean, that is crazy talk. You just don't see that. They've been destroying people. I could sit there and say this is what you do against us, but that would be the wrong approach for them. They've got to play their game. We've got to play our game against them and hope that it's good enough.
Front left.
Sid, what do you think of Louisville from what you've seen so far?
Yeah, like what Kelly said is they don't have a lot of weaknesses. You watch them and at first I was like, wow, they're kind of like us. They're very offensively balanced. And then you start to see how hard they work in transition, just some of the athletes they have attacking. Anna Stevenson just is an incredible player to watch. Their setter is great. Both of their outsides are super springy. They're just really solid all the way around, really well coached. And I think that we're going to have to play really well to compete with them tomorrow.
Kelly, this past week we did a video, and it included an interview with Dave Shondale, the Purdue coach. And, of course, you and he grew up in the same town in Muncie, Indiana. You're real good friends with his brother. And you told me that you had spent a lot of time with the family, when you were a kid, and he described you as Eddie Haskell. And for those of you who don't know Leave It to Beaver, you'll have to look it up. But
Eddie Haskell.
You've got to have the chance to respond to that.
Looking back 30 years or more, probably 35 years, that's probably a little bit more truth than probably what I'd want to admit. I don't know. I didn't know that's the game that we're doing here. I don't know. Dave probably considered himself Arthur Fonzarelli, so that was probably what he would consider he was. These guys have no idea the conversation that we're having right now. But Eddie and the Fonz, there you have it.
Dennis Punzel, Wisconsin State Journal. Kelly, All-America teams came out today.
Yeah.
No surprise. But just Dana's 5th year, what's the significance of that? And Sid for 3 straight years on the first team. And Barnesy as a second-team libero for the 2nd straight year.
It's not something that you should, sneeze at, I guess. I mean, it's you can sit there and say, well, that's old hat, but no, these guys have worked hard to develop their games, and it's well earned. And there's certainly quite a few other people. The person to my right, Grace, certainly could have been on that list as well. Quite a few other people on our team, a few people on these other 3 teams that are here. Some of their players could have made it. It's but they've worked hard. Those are honors that have been earned, right? I mean, I don't know how many times I could walk by the gym, late at night or early in the morning or something, and Sid is just in there by herself hitting the ball up against the box and having it rebound so she's able to, and setting it at the target. I mean, it is all the time. There's a price to pay, and they have done that. They're some of the best players our program has ever had, and it's certainly been a blessing to coach them. Sid is as good as any collegiate setter in a long time. Dana, 5-time first-team All-American. I mean, that's never happened in any sport. I mean, it's ridiculous. Hopefully, there becomes an opportunity for that. I really think that we need to be at a point, or getting to a point, where every single player in every sport has the opportunity to play 5 years in 5 seasons, and you do away with the redshirt rule, you do away from conference or NCAA waivers. We can do that. To me, that's a bigger deal than NIL. It's a way bigger deal than NIL. You have every single college athlete being able to to graduate with, debt-free, the scholarship athletes debt-free and have a graduate degree. I mean, holy cow, you think of how many people that are paying off graduate degrees for 20, 30 years after school. We could wipe that free. And so, I know football gets the opportunity of playing 4 and a third year. I don't know why they get that third year. No other sport does. But we ought to be able to extend this to 5 years. I'll get off my soapbox. So I guess my point is, I'm hoping Dana's not the only one that is able to 5 years to be able to do it.
Middle right.
Sydney, the Louisville players were talking about how they started talking about the national championship early in the season, and I guess with this being your third straight Final Four, that's a conversation that never ends at Wisconsin. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think it's kind of like an unsaid goal. I think everyone who comes to Wisconsin, that's one of the reasons they come here, to make history and to win a national championship. But I think that most of the time it's in the back of our heads when we get into the gym, and it's like, this is our why. This is why we work so hard. But if you look past the journey, you're going to get beat, you're going to get upset, you're not going to appreciate the moment. So I think you just got to take it one game at a time, one day at a time, and try to get 1% better every day. And then if it leads you to the Final Four, then it does, and you soak it all in.
Back left.
Grace, we don't want to waste your trip here.
First question.
Kelly talked about this, the second half of the season, that your roles become more consistent and your level of play is picked up. How do you feel your game has changed or evolved over the course of this season?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I feel like I'm playing with a different mindset, and I feel like that does help my game. I've been working a lot on just like incorporating new shots into my play, and I think that's been really helping me. But overall, I feel like one of the biggest things for me is just like really focusing on staying in the present in every single scenario I'm in. Just like in practice, focusing on that point, and the matches, focusing on that point, that set, and just not worrying about anything that happened or could happen. And I think that's been a huge help for me.
Okay.
Something I want to jump in here on here. We've got 2 players here that are fifth-year seniors and that are using this extra year, and there's quite a few of them that are here in the Final Four, and there's quite a few of them across the country. I think almost every one of the All-Americans from last year's team decided to come back and use this extra year. That tells me that us as a sport are doing something right. That programs across the country are given an experience. Not just these 2, but across the board. Almost all of the elite players have decided to come back because their experience has been great. And it's not because, here, let's come back so I can create more value to be able to make more money down the road at playing professional or whatever. They came back because of the experience and with their teammates and things. And I think that's something that we should be celebrating as a sport. Not just, I think there's some of, man, I wish they would have gone already. No, I think that's what we're wanting college sport to be about, right? Is that these guys are getting better, but they're having the time of their lives, they're having a great experience, and they want to stay with it. And the fact that so many of these players across the country made that decision, I think this is the appropriate time to kind of celebrate that, I think, a little bit.
Okay, we'll pause here and we'll see if there's any questions from Zoom.
Thank you, Dan. I do not see any hands raised on Zoom at this time, but if anybody does have a question, please feel free to use the raise hand function and we can get to you, but no hands raised at this time.
Any other questions here? Okay, thank you.